welcome back. We've taken a rather extensive look at werewolves and zombies in the past for this show. So it's time to tackle another classic movie creature, vampires. More specifically, the vampires of 30 Days of Night, Dark Days. And I know it was supposed to be Cube Zero this time, but I really couldn't resist with this one. Yeah, it's that bad. We start the film with a recap of the first movie, because a direct-to-DVD sequel that only fans of the original are likely to see definitely needs an extensive recap. And it's a recap that gets some clever editing. Well, I say clever. I mean clumsy editing to get around the little problem that none of the original cast bothered to return to this movie. Although, come to think of it, wouldn't help. We're told by Stella about the attack on Barrow by vampires and how she managed to survive, and that her husband Eben turned into one, but chose to die rather than be a vampire. That's important to remember as it'll lead to something really fucking stupid later. Also, no mention of the other people who survived the attack. Or Eben's younger brother who survived for that matter. So fantastic continuity there. After a very long opening credit sequence, Stella is awoken by nightmares as we see she keeps a gun by her bed. What for, I've no idea, as the vampires in the first movie weren't exactly affected by bullets. We also see she's got a stack of ultraviolet lights that she'll use soon. You know, the writers try to get across how she's traumatised by what happened at Barrow, but it's nothing more than what we just saw. I think they could have done something really interesting, like having her use ultraviolet lights on everything, or having Stella really tanned because she's using those lights all the time. Just something to show how traumatised her life and health have become. But, as you'll see, that's expecting way too much from this script. Stella has been giving presentations all about the Barrow attack, telling anyone who will listen about what really happened.
Our town, Barrow, Alaska, came under siege by a clan of vampires.
Obviously no one believes her, with some people mocking her. However, this time Stella has a plan for everyone to see.
Every time I do one of these things, a couple of them show up. Well, I have a surprise for you. I've rigged the ceiling with 3 Sunmax ultraviolet lights. If there are any of you out there, I suggest you stand and
She's
show
definitely
yourselves.
bluffing.
Hit the lights.
Oh god, she wasn't bluffing! Holy shit, the vampires were the ones that looked really goth and were wearing sunglasses at night? Wow!
What a twist!
So there you go, vampires revealed to a large group of people. They can't exactly hide from that, can they? It has absolutely zero bearing on the plot, and except for a single piece of dialogue, it's never mentioned again, so pretty much a waste of your fucking time right there. Stella is arrested for her stunt, and we meet this guy, Sergeant Norris. And I seriously had to look that up, because I'm pretty sure he's never mentioned by name. I'm going to hit you with a spoiler here. He's actually working for the vampires as a ghoul or Renfield type character, because he's terminally ill and wants to be a vampire. Not sure why he's still employed at the FBI if he's terminally ill, but who gives a fuck. So Sergeant Norris starts interrogating her and acting like she's a con artist, but instead of pretending, he just completely breaks character to intimidate her.
If it were up to me, I'd choke you with my bare hands and bury you in the fucking desert.
That would draw too much attention. The body's already in the incinerator. No one will ever believe you.
Let me get this straight. Someone is trying desperately hard to reveal vampires, and you take her, completely unseen by anyone, and instead of killing her right then and there, you let her go because it will draw too much attention. So, to repeat, killing her here bad, but this is completely fine to handle. As I said, they just let Stella go and she takes a cab back to her motel. Yeah, I'll let you know when something of consequence actually happens. And yeah, that's Kathryn Isabel, who played the central character in one of my favourite and much better horror movies, Ginger Snaps. And she was badass there. Jesus, talk about wasting your actors. Stella gets inside and is greeted by the crack team of vampire hunters we'll be with for the rest of this film. And when I said crack team of vampire hunters, the sarcasm was heavily implied. Why wouldn't she have the gun used for protection on her person instead of uselessly by the bed? Anyway, we have Paul, Todd, and Amber. And they say they were sent by Dane, who has been in contact with Stella for some time, and they want her to join their band of vampire killers.
You don't hunt them, they hunt you.
See? What'd I tell you?
Where you going?
This is a fucking waste of time.
What the hell does she expect Stella to say? Stella says one thing against them and she's like, fuck it, this is pointless. Give her a chance to come around, Christ. Amber goes off in a hissy fit and sees a vampire has shown up to kill Stella. And you know exactly what I'm going to say, don't you? Why the fuck did they let her go, only to send a vampire after her in a much more public place? I love that the bad guys are just stupid, and as we'll find out, the vampire hunters are just as incompetent. So if nothing else, at least it'll be a fair fight, I guess. Amber warns the rest of the gang and they get ready to fight what's coming for Stella. Holy shit! Yeah, I guess guns can be effective if you shoot the fuck out of their heads. But still, wouldn't an axe or a sword be a much more effective choice? And this is Stella before the vampire attack, and this is Stella after the attack. You want to show any kind of emotion there? Anxiety, relief, seriously, anything at all will be just fine, thanks. They get out of there and head to the hunter's hideout, and we find out some vital information.
Lilith, who's Lilith?
She's the one we're after.
With the mention of Lilith, we now know that this film is desperately clinging to the edges of the actual graphic novel 30 Days of Night, Dark Days. But you'll find this movie has a rather tenuous grasp of the source material, to say the least. So much so that it doesn't even need comparison. Just take it from me. The novels are worth more of your time than this crappy film.
I'm sorry, do you have a problem with me? Or you just...
Yeah, actually I do. I'm afraid you're gonna get us all killed.
Oh, and I'm going to keep that little bit of dialogue safe and sound to use later. Trust me, it'll be comically significant. So anyway, to fill you in on the goal for this film, the hunters are after Lilith, because she's the queen or something. And if they kill her, the rest of the vampires will be directionless and chaotic. Because that's a great idea. Let's not focus on the possibility of vampires going crazy, not giving a shit about secrecy, and the ensuing power vacuums it could cause. Yeah, that sort of clever writing has no place in this movie. So because of the very public and very stupid vampire attack, it should be no surprise to anyone that the body is found by that couple we saw, which makes one more body and two more witnesses to dispose of. So way to go, Sergeant What's-Your-Name, for letting Stella go. Also, why Kathryn Isabel? The hunters get back to their clubhouse and Stella meets Dane.
No.
Don't, Stella. He's not like the others.
Yeah, perhaps a little warning before you stick her in a room with a vampire, morons. But it's that old cliché. He's a good vampire and doesn't bite humans. How does he feed, you may ask? Well, so does Stella.
How do you feed?
Instead of saying he uses blood packs, he very slowly goes to the fridge, takes a blood pack, pours it into a cup, and drinks it. Now, why was it so very necessary for us to see that process in its entirety? And for God's sake, it's clearly fucking fruit juice.
Does that all the time. Fucking disgusting.
Nice. Way to insult your ally for him doing something he needs to do to survive, you douchebag. After showing Stella their weapon collection, they get down to making a plan, which they're all so very confident about.
Wait, you're planning on just walking in there and killing her?
Yes.
Yeah, this ain't our first picnic.
That overconfidence is going to make this so much more fun for me. They get their bare bones plan together, but Stella isn't willing to take part, which I'm sure will get resolved in a few lines of dialogue coming up. Sergeant What's-His-Name is on his way to see none other than Lilith herself. And to add to the cliché, she's bathing in blood. Why bathe in it? Why not drink it, for God's sake? It just seems like a pointless waste.
She wants to know about the Alaskan. Stella.
Why does she need a translator? It's not like she can't speak English. Which, actually, come to think of it, the vampire language was created because it was something that was easier to say, as vampire mouths are full of teeth. So, how do they speak English so well? And I'm pretty sure the vampires in the first movie never spoke English, so I am so confused right now.
Because I threatened her. I scared her. She was afraid of me.
Yeah, right. He really scared her. What do you think scared her more, letting her go free or hacking up a lung? And then Lilith shows her face. Wait, Mia Kirshner? So we got Kathryn Isabel, who is in Ginger Snaps, and now Mia Kirshner, who is in The Crow City of Angels? This film is like a microcosm of my previous reviews. All we need now is for Dennis Hopper to show up and we've collected the whole set.
Wicked ass props to you, Mr. OG. And thanks for representing all the homeboys.
Anyway, Lilith just has Lurch over there beat up Sergeant What's-His-Name for being an incompetent moron. Hey, I ain't complaining. Back with Stella and the hunters, she's having her convincing to go along with their plan scene with the leader, Paul, and we get some of his backstory.
Your daughter. What was her name?
Addie. I rushed back to her room, and then she was gone.
Okay, his daughter died and that's sad and all, but all I'm thinking is why the hell did the vampire bypass a fully grown, healthy male to attack a, 5-year-old girl? That just seems incongruous to the way these vampires act. Unless it's like the biggest pussy vampire ever. Now that Stella's on board, they get their plan into action. The group gets to the entrance to their lair, and because they're such professionals, Todd does a fine job at getting inside. Well, that's a crap ton of noise. And they're going against the creature that is attracted to and can smell blood. So great start, guys. They find a decapitated corpse, and then Amber freaks out like this is something they've never seen before.
We need to go back up and we need to regroup. No, this isn't how we do things. You're gonna get us killed.
You know, fuck this. I'm going back.
And now I can use this
I'm afraid you're gonna get us all killed.
to show just how crap she is. And then this.
This ain't our first picnic.
Yeah, you're real fucking professional. So anyway, the shit hits the fan and they get surrounded by vampires and a gunfight ensues. And because, as I said, they're such consummate professionals, Todd is bitten immediately. They get away carrying Todd with them and get into a room to hide, and we see that Todd has already started to turn and begs to be killed. Stella hands the sword to Paul to kill Todd, but he defiantly throws it down. He's acting like he's being forced to kill Todd. Hey moron, you're meant to be a seasoned vampire hunter. If you don't kill him, he'll kill all of you. You got no choice here. And what do you know, Todd attacks Paul and Stella is forced to bash his head in. So because Paul didn't kill Todd in a relatively humane way, he ends up dying in a horrendously painful way.
Yeah, this ain't our first picnic.
And you know, Harold Perrineau is probably the most well-known actor in this, so it's for the best he gets killed first. Probably expensive to keep him in the cast. Also, did they just seriously kill off the black guy first? And now Stella's covered in blood, which, as we know from the previous movie, is all that it takes to infect you and turn you into a vampire. But of course, that's completely forgotten.
Can you try not to lose your shit and get another one of us killed?
What the fuck did you just say? Huh? You think this is my fault?
Yes. It was your fault, dumbass. You are the worst fucking vampire hunter in history. After the excitement, they decide to wait in the room till nightfall because they couldn't do shit during the day, so they might as well ramp up the difficulty a little bit. The remaining group wait till nightfall, and Danger shows up to rescue them. So that was a nice cop-out there, wasn't it? Bloody hell. They try sneaking out, and as we come to expect, they immediately get set upon by another vampire. They gun it down, and Stella goes to deal the killing blow, but she decides to be a little smarter for a change. Taking the vampire back to their hideout, and using one of Stella's ultraviolet lights, they interrogate him. However, they don't get very far with their torture, as Dane informs them.
I told you. He'll die before he gives her up.
Speaking of Lilith, she's torturing the couple that was taken by Sergeant What's-His-Name. No idea why or what for, just because she's evil, I guess. Back with our band of screw-ups, they get Dane to interrogate the vampire, cause yeah, getting someone who speaks the vampire language might be a good idea. And what do you know, Dane gets some useful information.
They're planning another siege during the darkness.
They're gonna attack Alaska again? Because that's not extremely suspicious in any way. And then instead of letting Stella roast the vampire, they let him go so they can follow him. Yeah, I'm sure that's not gonna bite them in the ass. So after following the vampire for a while, he leads them to a warehouse.
How many do you think are in there?
I don't know. Could be lots.
What do you keep in that bag of yours?
Just 12 pounds of C4.
Just 12 pounds. What? Why does she need to carry that around? Isn't that kind of dangerous? I know C4 won't explode in most cases, but still, come on. I wouldn't just carry it around for the hell of it. And I certainly wouldn't trust that dumbass with it. And because there's no problem leaving that vampire alive to tell anyone about their hideout, our crack team of hunters decide to wait the entire night before going into the warehouse after him. You know, neither of these two groups, vampires or hunters, seem to give a crap about secrecy. And while waiting, Paul gives us some more character development.
I was gonna finally go home, put on my robe, sit on my porch, and blow my fucking brains out.
It's great to have a goal.
But I don't think like that anymore.
Oh, well, that makes it all better. Doesn't make us question his mental state at all. The group get inside the warehouse and start to look around, and they find some live people being bled for food. And guess who freaks out?
We're gonna get you out of here. It's okay. I'm afraid you're gonna get us all killed.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Kill her! Kill her now, please! She's really getting on my nerves. So we get more gunfighting and they start to blow holes in the roof to let the sun in. Perhaps they should have done something like that at the start, or used the C4 on the roof. But instead they're far less effective, blowing a hole in the wall with it. The explosion knocks Stella out and she has a dream about Barrow and the death of Evan. She comes to with a dislocated wrist, which to be honest, she got off very lightly with considering she was right next to the explosion. The group get out and manage to rescue the woman they found in the process, and make their way back to their hideout. And Paul relocates Stella's wrist for her. Oh, come on, that wasn't even close to looking real. You gotta do it like this. Let's move on. You know, it's only now I realise that Stella still hasn't changed her bloodstained shirt from when she killed Todd. That's not gonna smell good by now. After bandaging up Stella, she and Paul decide to have sex. Just out of the blue. And to be honest, it really doesn't look good. It's an incredibly bad sign when your sex scene just looks wrong and makes the viewer feel dirty for watching. So yeah, there's that. Sergeant What's-His-Name, who by the looks of it hasn't moved from that spot for like 30 minutes of this film, has discovered where our hunters are hiding thanks to that vampire they let go. Who'd have thought? But Sergeant What's-His-Name is close to dying from his terminal illness and asks to be turned into a vampire.
Show me.
So apparently on Lilith's instruction, Sergeant What's-His-Name bites Kathryn Isabel and drinks her blood till she's dead. What I tell you, great use of their actors. Also, I love the fact that Lilith didn't actually tell him to do that. So for all we know, she just wanted him to draw her a picture, and after killing the woman she just decided to go with it. Probably not, but it's what I choose to accept. So anyway, after that, Lilith gives Sergeant What's-His-Name some of her blood, and he's now a vampire. And I kind of wanted to stay away from comparisons for this review, but this is relevant. In the first movie, Marlowe and his gang of vampires used a human to infiltrate Barrow and to take out the phones and destroy any contact and escape. They also promised him vampirism. However, when it came time to repay their human helper, what does Marlowe do?
Shut them loose. Let them loop. Act.
Yeah, he kills him. And that guy did way more for Marlowe than Sergeant What's-His-Face has done for Lilith. So why would she turn him? Frankly, it makes the so-called Queen of the Vampires look worse and weaker than Marlowe. And this could have been a real way to show that she's not to be fucked with, you know? The hunters are asking the woman they rescued for any information she can give on Lilith, and why is Stella still wearing that bloodstained shirt? So she took it off to have sex, and then put it back on without even washing it first? That's just nasty. Ugh. While they're talking with the woman, they're interrupted by a knock at the door. And yeah, nobody react to the knock at the secret hideout that no one is supposed to know about. Yeah, just go on and look through the peephole. Wow, these are the worst protagonists ever. And yeah, Dane, he's dead. He's done. And apart from getting them out of the sewer and doing some interrogation, he's done sod all for this movie. That has got to be one of the worst, most pointless and superfluous characters ever in a movie. I mean, my God. Everybody runs out the back of the hideout with Sergeant What's-His-Name bursting in trying to look intimidating. Yeah, he could make that growly face all day. It ain't working. The group get away, and with the woman's information, they get to where Lilith is hiding. Turns out it's a ship getting ready to sail to Alaska. So they make their way inside with limited weapons, limited resources, and absolutely zero plan. This is going to go fantastically. Once inside, some vampires are seen doing something to another vampire's body.
They can come back. They still have their head.
That's from the comics, that's not a problem here. But why would they bother? I mean, if that guy is just another lackey, which is most likely, wouldn't that mean it's another mouth to feed? And if you need to go to Alaska and wipe out a whole town, you'd think food would be a scarce commodity. The ship starts to move, and guess who's freaking out again?
We cannot be stuck on the ship. We will not make it.
Yeah, this ain't our first picnic.
They make their way to navigation and find more vats the vampires are using to get blood from people. I'm sorry, but that's a bit much. I know it's a horror movie, but Jesus, showing a dead kid? That's way too far, and a much darker tone than this film has had up until now. It's just pathetic shock value. They make their way through, finding more bodies hanging on hooks, because this movie wants to be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre now. And yeah, Amber is freaked out again. And I fucking love that guy's expression. That face just perfectly says, "It's a living." They get to navigation and find the captain, who's actually human, and being forced by the vampires to pilot the ship as his family is being threatened. But that doesn't matter, as Amber's gonna fuck up again.
Tell me anything.
Wow, she couldn't even be killed without taking someone else down with her.
Yeah, this ain't our first picnic.
Amber is being eaten, and to complete some kind of character arc, Paul shoots her. There's only one thing left to say.
I'm afraid you're gonna get us all killed.
So after shooting Amber, Sergeant What's-His-Name shows up and surrounds Stella and Paul, and they get to meet Lilith. What a scene, eh? That was the most vital scene of the entire film. And because they can't just kill them, Stella and Paul are tied up, which they make seem a lot less fucking painful than it should be. Sergeant What's-His-Name comes in and fails to be intimidating as he cuts Paul to bleed him. Oh no, don't cut him in a way that'll be very slow and ineffectual. Stella gets free and shoves a hook through the guy's face, which isn't enough to kill him, but then she takes his head off, which does the trick. They go to some random panel on the ship and decide to break it all, which, luck would have it, actually does something to the ship. But, oh dear, Lilith shows up and kills Paul. No, not Paul, he was so... So now Stella's on the run from Lilith.
Can't you hear me yell? You're putting me through hell.
Stella runs into Lilith and after being thrown around a little makes her way into Lilith's bathroom, I guess, and finds a place to hide from her. Lilith follows Stella in looking for her and, I wonder where she's hiding. There she is, and there goes Lilith. Talk about an anticlimax. She was the queen of the vampires. Don't you think she deserved a better death scene than that? That was just pathetic, and a massive disappointment considering the amount of build-up she's had throughout this entire fucking film. But, considering the calibre of this film, how could they not end it with laziness and disappointment? So anyway, the vampires see Stella kill Lilith and just let her go, cause they're fucking idiots. And she gets back to Barrow to settle down, but for some bizarre reason she decides to dig up Eben's body. It's because she saw that other vampire get revived, so that's what she's going to do with Eben. Now, I have no fucking clue why she would do this. Firstly, Eben killed himself because he didn't want to be a vampire. Why the fuck would he want reviving? Secondly, when she does revive him, he's still going to be a vampire and try to kill her. This is the stupidest thing she could possibly do. And she cuts her own wrist to give blood. You could have used blood packs, you know. You didn't need to mutilate yourself. So it seems not to work, but as Stella gets closer to passing out from blood loss, we see that it actually has worked, as she hugs a clearly not Josh Hartnett.
I can't believe it.
Fucking moron! Also, here's the kicker. She revives Eben, he turns her into a vampire, and then they wipe Barrow themselves in a killer crazy rampage. So way to go, Stella. You accomplished nothing! Good God, this movie is a piece of shit! Do I even need to sum up why I hate this movie, really? Everything about it is completely bland, stock, and pointless. This could have been something interesting if they had bothered to take more than a cursory glance at the comic book. Characters are wasted, actors are wasted, and as I said, because of the ending, the entire fucking film is fundamentally pointless in every way. For the love of all that is good and true, stick to the comics. Oh hell, watch the original, it's still better than this piece of shit. So, to conclude, you suck. You really sucked. My god, you sucked. Cartman, play me out.
Screw you guys, I'm going home.